Well, this year marks exactly 10 years, or close to 10 years, since the Marikana Massacre, which saw 34 miners lose their lives while striking for better wages. This atrocity marks a critical moment in post-apartheid South Africa. Film producer Rehad Desai documented the events in a searing documentary called Miners Shot Down, which went on to win several awards. Rehad Desai joins us now to reflect on this story 10 years later. Rehad, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this morning on the Weekend Report. I wonder if you can still recall your initial reactions to, the days of protestations that we were witnessing, right up to the violence that we saw that was meted out against the striking miners and the police brutality that we witnessed as well.
I arrived in Marikana. Thank you for your kind words about the documentary, and hello to all the viewers. I arrived in Marikana on the 14th of August. That was a day after a group of striking miners who had been picketing in one of the shafts were on the way back to the copy, and they were the police attempted to stop them under some mistaken, there's consensus amongst the lawyers, certainly at the Commission of Inquiry, that they were en route back to the copy, not through a township, a local informal settlement. The police stopped them on the basis of their attempt, apparently, to go into this informal settlement. And 3 of their number died and 2 policemen. So it was very tense the day after. There were scores of armoured vehicles from the police, but also the army. Private security were there in numbers, chasing people around. It was a very dystopian sight. You could feel the tension in the air. The mine workers were at the copy. And not in any mood to speak to anybody. It was a very, very difficult moment. I remember coming home that evening and writing to some people talking about the dystopian nature of what I'd just seen, how it left me feeling cold. It felt like that's where we were heading in the South African labour relations landscape, where these things, these disputes, labour disputes between employees and employers, was now becoming so conflict-ridden that you'd need to bring army tanks in there and machine guns. I saw guns that were unbelievable that you would see in a war zone. And then once the massacre, I didn't go there the following day. I was following it on the news and just shocked at the way the African National Congress, the South African Communist Party, and the NUM were responding to this dispute as if this was a crazed bunch of individuals who no one knew and were suicidal, were barbaric. And the fact that they were being a traditional healer, Sangoma, was involved with them, somehow meant that they were barbaric. This shocked me to my core. And then when those hail of bullets, which everybody saw on our screens at home on TV, came down, I was trembling. It was just beyond belief. I've never seen something like that, and I would have never expected something like that in society anywhere in the world. Never mind our newly found democracy. There still existed some degree of hope about what we could do, who we could be, what we could achieve as a nation. So. Yeah.
I asked that question because I was curious about the sort of emotional state or reflective state you probably were in as you started thinking about producing the documentary Miners Shot Down, because we are trying to sort of reflect on that particular day. What do you think those events said or were saying about post-apartheid South Africa? There were a lot of comparisons being made between the Marikana Massacre and the Sharpeville Massacre, the only difference being that South Africa was now a democratic state that had enshrined human rights laws and had a government and law enforcement authorities put in place to protect these particular rights of individuals. So just talk to us about what those events were actually saying about the state of South African politics and the state of South African labour relations at the time.
Yes, in many ways it was worse than the Sharpeville Massacre, where 70 people were killed. It was worse because we had a democracy in the place, but it was certainly the darkest hour of the democracy, post-1994 democracy, and spoke to where we've been heading since then. And that is a place where our state was, we allowed our state to be openly captured by a multinational corporation in the form of Lonmin to break a strike, a labour dispute, where the police should have hardly anything to do with. I mean, this is a matter between workers and their bosses. And Lonmin convinced our state to get involved with that, to bring in thousands of police force, scores of armoured vehicles, 4,000 rounds of live ammunition. They provided them with helicopters, they provided them with mills, they provided the police with sleeping barracks and coaches and so on. This was a joint operation, but the head of the operation was really a multinational corporation.
Right.
Now, that speaks to whose interests. I mean, who are the people they were oppressing?
Right.
These were the people who voted for them. This is what made it so sickening.
Rehad, unfortunately, we do have to leave our conversation there. We have run out of time, but thank you so much for coming onto today's program and helping us to reflect on this monumental moment in South African history. Thank you so much for your time. That was film producer Rehad Desai talking to us there about his documentary film Miners Shot Down, but also helping us to reflect on the Marikana tragedy as we continue to commemorate it 10